Hi guys, and welcome with Art with Nathan. This is our second episode, and today we are joined by a very special guest, Fred the houseplant. Fred is a really sad houseplant, as you can see, because he sits on the desk of our videographer, who's way too busy to give him any love and attention. And in fact, Fred is also very sad because he's in a salad family, and he's actually going to be our videographer's lunch today. So in a way, we're honoring him by drawing him today, and this video also acts as his funeral. So like, as you sit at home watching this, just please be respectful. But let's get at it. So you would have spent a week drawing very simple objects. If you look again at the formula, if you remember, if you don't know, if you've forgotten, last week we looked at this formula in depth. Go back and refer to that video, and you can see what we're talking about up here. What you would have done is you would have just stayed with line and shape, looking at very simple objects like the apple we did last week, or like a shoe, like a plate, and just doing lots of little drawings, just expressing them in terms of line and shape. So what I'm expecting is that you are well practiced in these two very first elements of art. And for this lesson, we're going to take Fred, and we're going to see how complex and how beautiful Fred is. Okay, so this is really, it is a really good send-off for him. And we're going to jump into tone and try and create some form. But the real exercise, the real work is in expressing Fred in terms of the basic lines and shapes. And how do we get to a really well-constructed drawing looking at Fred. So I have printed out a picture of Fred as he sits over there. So often with funerals you do have that, you know, little picture up the front. This is probably not at his best, but we're going to use this. It's just easier for you guys to see the drawing and the photo. Now, photos in itself are a bit of a cheat. So if you are going to be drawing from a photo, just know it is way easier to draw from a photo than it is to draw from real life. So I'm going to encourage you guys to draw from life. For the sake of this video, I'm drawing from a printout to make things a bit easier. But yeah, I'm not saying drawing from photos is bad. Go ahead if you want to draw from a photo. No one's trying to stop you. But let's get at it. So how do we begin a drawing? This is, it's like, it's a blank canvas. We're intimidated by this big white space. One of the ways to get around it is to get like a yellow piece of paper, because then it's not white. But what we're going to do is, without even looking at Fred or at the pot plant, we're just going to ruin this space already, because then we won't be so precious about it. And so often our expectations are so high in terms of our drawing. So what I'm going to say to you is kind of sounds counterproductive, but lower your expectations. Don't put too much on yourself. Okay, because we are drawing a pot plant that's about to die. So the first thing I'm going to do, not even looking at this, I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to draw a line going straight down. Okay, cool. So now I've got my first reference point. Now that's great. Okay, it's a line going straight down. It's not a perfectly straight line. It's a few lines, but this is going to help me in my drawing. Okay, so let's say we're going to just talk about format real quick. So let's say your page is, this is your page, okay? Cool, all right. That's your page. Okay, so this is going to help you. So often, and this is a big thing, Art, we will end up starting a drawing somewhere in the middle, and then it'll go off the page, or it'll be too low or too high. I mean, this is going into basic composition, but having this line here is going to help me decide and place Fred in my page where I want him. And again, guys, I'm drawing with this whiteboard. This is just a real good way to teach drawing. But if you're drawing at home, we will be doing drawings on paper and charcoal in the future. But this is really just to show you how we're going to construct a drawing. Okay, and you'll see my lines aren't exactly straight. Okay, no one's perfect, especially Fred. Okay, cool. So the next decision I'm going to make is, where does Fred start and where does Fred end? And we know Fred ends today. So I'm going to say I want Fred to start around about here. This is his tippy top, that point there. And I'm going to just choose another place over here. This is his bottom. Okay, cool. So, all right. Again, the pressure's all off. You can like go and relax, maybe go make a cup of coffee after you've done this. You've already made quite a big decision in terms of drawing. You've done a lot of work. Okay, not really. Okay, but this is good. So now I know everything that I'm going to be working is between this. Okay, so I can start using this as a measurement. Okay, for example, an easy thing that I can do, that I can discern just by looking at this, and all of you guys should be able to do that, is decide where's the halfway point here. Okay, well, I'm going to say it's about there. Okay, all right, maybe a bit lower. Hey, I don't know. Cool, right there. Okay, that's the midway point. Okay, and don't go out and get a ruler and do this. So a big part of being able to draw is be able to judge measurement and proportion with your eye. Okay, so you want to be able to look at this line and these two bits and find that middle part just with your eye, just by discerning, because it's a skill with your eye, it's a skill with your mind to be able to do. And I'm going to just also divide it into quarters. Now some of you guys are thinking, well, this is an art, this is going into the realm of maths. Well, unfortunately everything is maths, believe it or not. Okay, cool. So I've got all these points that are completely unrelated to my picture of Fred over here, but I'm going to see how these reference points can relate to the plant. And this is one of the big things when it comes to drawing, is you want to create your own conceptual grid. Now, some of you may have been drawing for a bit, or may have gone to art lessons or done art at school, and the teacher will tell you to grid up a picture, and then you emulate that grid on another piece of paper and you draw square for square. Now that's one way of drawing, but you're not seeing the object in terms of its whole, in terms of its different parts. And what is a vital skill in terms of an artist is being able to create your own conceptual grid that is unique to every single drawing or object that you depict, to finding those relationships in the object, how the different shapes relate to each other, the proportions, the lines. And so this is what we're doing here. So we've created a very basic kind of a couple of units of measurement on our board here, and we're going to use that to create our own grid. This is so much better than the grid method. Yes, the grid method has great results, but you can't draw from life with it. Okay, you can only draw a photo. So you won't be able to depict poor Fred as you see him, as you feel, what you feel about him. So let's get at it. Okay, so I want to take this measurement and I want to apply it here somehow. So I'm going to look at Fred. Here's his top, here's his bottom. Okay, and about halfway is about there. So there I can make that decision. I see it's kind of just above the top of the plant. So then I'm going to make a mark. So halfway, the top of the plant is about there. I'm just going to draw a line. So these are all construction lines right here. So I know that is the top of the pot plant right there. Okay, and then about halfway down from that point to the quarter point, okay, there's not really any kind of marks. Oh, wait, hang on. It's just almost the end of that leaf there. So over here, right, so just below that point is the tip of the leaf. So I'm going to make another mark round about somewhere over here. I know at this point that leaf ends, okay? And then halfway between that over there, okay, cool. I see that this internal leaf, this very sad looking leaf going down, is about at that quarter point over there, almost exactly, I would say, at this point. So I know somewhere over here is that beginning of that leaf coming down. Cool. So now I have some rough marks points where I can work with. And the next question I ask is, all right, I'm doing in the lines, what shapes do I see? Now, I always ask yourself, what is the biggest shape? If I could summarize this object into a single shape, what shape would that be? So if you look at the pot plant, you're going to see the pot by far is the most dominant, biggest shape in this drawing. And if I ask myself, what shape is it? Some of you are saying it's a cone, okay? But let's, even more basic than that, it's a rectangle. So we've made a decision. We know the cone, the pot starts here and it ends, I think we said here, right? Just above halfway. Let me just remember. Yes, okay, cool. So about here, it said ends there, so we're going to draw roughly what I think the shape that pot is, okay? Cool. Again, we're just working with these two elements here. So that's done. And the next, I think, dominant shape we need to address is the stalk. Okay, the stalk of Fred. And I'm going to just do it with a single line. It is not quite in the middle of the pot. It's off to the side, about there. It's my best guess. And it's going in this direction. So another cool trick you want to think about is the direction of lines. Which way does a line go? And a good way to think about it is in terms of compass points. Okay, and then, so which way is this line going? So I would say it's going in a northwesterly direction. Okay, expect a cold front this weekend as well, guys. All right. Okay, so have a look how I feel into the line, and often in my mind I sort of give it a sound too, like a shoo, you know, it's a shooting line. And one thing you have to get really used to is drawing lines. It's actually really difficult. I often see when I was teaching students that their inability to draw lines, often it would be this very broken line, and that's just a result of lack of practice. You want to be able to draw elegant, swishy lines. If there's one thing that you can practice and be complete control of is the tone and the movement of a line. It's one of the most simplest things. It's like writing. So really practice. If you need to be practicing drawing lines, draw lines. I mean, you might look crazy having a page full of random lines, but you're practicing. Make 2 points and try hit those 2 points. Okay? It's like target practice. Okay? And you never know. Maybe someone will pick it up and think, well, these are the best things I've ever seen, and you'll become a famous artist who draws crazy lines like that. I think my 4-year-old was pretty good at this. Okay. Okay, so we've got the stalk kind of going in that direction. And also, look, I'm going to overshoot it. Wow, it's gone right off the page because I don't want to be impeded by anything. I just want it to stay loose. Okay, and I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. And maybe that line's a bit too far off. Maybe it's over here. Okay, here we go. Shot it straight out there. But I know it ends there. Cool, and I'm going to just give him some shape. Also, so I'm going to say he ended at about at the quarter mark. If you look there, the stalk kind of ends there at that quarter mark. So that's really great that I have that reference. So I'm going to turn it into like this very long rectangular shape. Cool. All right. Okay, and always take time to step back and really look and compare. Your eyes are darting from your reference point to your drawing constantly. And the aim isn't perfection, guys. The aim is to create a drawing that you create, a drawing that represents you. Remember, every single mark you make is a representation of your totality, who you are. So who you are isn't at its best when you are representing this drawing in photographic realism. Who you are is when you've been completely honest about all the marks you've made and you've tried your best to represent how you feel and what you see about this sad Fred the pot plant. Okay, cool. So now the next biggest shapes I think we can address are the leaves. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore this little top bit for now, and I'm just going to work these longer leaves over here. Okay, maybe not that one. Okay, I'm going to just work these. And so again, I'm going to refer back to my trusty formula, okay? Right, don't see it too much of it as a crutch. It's really useful. And I'm going to start with lines. So if I had to represent, let's look at this leaf as a line, okay? How would I do that? How would I describe it as a single line? Okay, so what do I know about that leaf? I know that that leaf ends just past this quarter point, so somewhere over here. If I had to say about this point, and it starts just above the stalk here. So if I had to describe it as a line, it's a line that goes up and then comes down and ends at that point. Okay. Really looking like a mathematical graph. So now I have this line, and I want to turn it into shapes. So I'm going to look at the leaf, and I want to break it down into its basic shapes. So the first shape I kind of see over here, all right, have a look. It's like, I think, a parallelogram or just a rectangle that's slightly leaning. So I'm going to draw that, and it is about halfway down the stalk. So I've got my stalk, I'm going to do a little reference point there. I'm going to draw my first, and I'm not, guys, I'm not being precious about it at all. Forget about it. Don't be precious. You should feel just as comfortable keeping your art as destroying it. You shouldn't be precious about it at all. Right, the next shape I kind of see coming off this rectangle we've just created is a long, rounded oval shape. If you see that, and it ends around about the rim of the pot line. So the rim is about there. So I'm going to do another long oval shape. Okay, and then it turns into triangular shape. Cool. Okay, cool. All right. One leaf down. All right, and it's looking good. Okay. Right. So the next one I'm going to address is this leaf. It comes so close next to the stalk. And what I want you to notice, and this is one of the most important things I think when it comes to drawing, is a negative space. So by negative space is just spaces that aren't the object. And I'm actually going to draw it on the picture here. So if you look at this negative space between the stalk and the leaf, okay, right. And then you look at the negative space that I have expressed, okay, between my stalk and leaf. Have a look. All right, you see it's similar, okay, but different. So during a drawing, there'll be endless corrections, okay? We never get it right first time, but now there's something I've just noticed. So you see this shape is different from this shape. Okay, so I'm dealing with shapes. So I want to correct that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just emulate that shape there as best as I can. Okay, well, let me get a different color so you guys can see. So now I know how I can correct my leaf. So I'm going to get my red, right, bring the square more to the side, and my oval down. Okay. Cool. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They definitely will happen. Okay. And you'll see that it's really loaded with lines and just trying to figure things out. And guys, this is beautiful. This is amazing. This is me trying to figure things out. This is me paying my respects to Fred. You know, this kind of thing, this is a real wonderful thing when you see something like this. And it's, even though it's not perfect, I know, but like, this is what drawing is. It's this process of realization, going back, this constant engagement. It really is wonderful. So now, on the other side, I'm going to be super aware of my negative space over here between this leaf. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and copy that shape And one thing when it comes to drawing shapes that aren't like a defined shape, like you can't say this is a circle or this is a square, it's kind of to imagine them as something else. So for me, that just reminds me of a shoe that's turned up, okay? Think of a shoe, and I'm going to draw that shape, and this shape looks like a scalpel, okay? So there I've put those two shapes in, and I'm going to draw this leaf next. So it kind of doesn't quite, I don't know where it ends, but I can imagine where it ends, okay? So it kind of ends in the same point where the pot plant ends. So I'm going to say at that point, and I'm going to just break it down into a, like an oval, coming right back up. Cool. Okay. Okay. Cool. So we're beginning to get there. Now there's something that I do want to draw in, which I feel like will help me quite a lot. And this is this ellipse shape, the top of the plant. Okay, so ellipses are really hard to get right, and it's just practice. So I don't want to make it too big. And you'll notice, guys, I just draw it straight over everything else. I've drawn it over my leaf. I'm not being precious about it again. I'm just drawing. I'm going to copy, okay? You want to copy this bend, emulate it, parallel. Almost if you could cut that out, bring it straight down, follow the flow of the angle. So a good thing is to follow it, right, bring that motion down, right there. You see, it's a physical thing. Cool. Right, so I think a nice leaf to draw would be this one. It's a very skinny one. And if I look at it, I want to copy that very awkwardness of how that line falls. And then it just jumps up at the end. So it comes out of this one, comes up, right, goes down, down and around, shoots up at the end. Cool. Okay. So it's very skinny. So it's kind of difficult to break it up into shapes. But that's what I'm going to do. So I see a triangle at the bottom there, coming up. Super thin, a bit thicker over here, right, this point a bit thicker, right. Almost completely disappearing when it falls over at this point, and then it's like a triangular shape. Okay. Again, guys, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. I don't want to use too much brain power. Often I feel like drawing's like writing an exam, but not in the same way. It's just you're using a lot of your senses, a lot of your thinking, you problem solving as you go along. Okay, so the next leaf I think I'd like to draw is this big one over here. Yeah. It's a little bit trickier because there's one in between that really does stand out. So I want to just get that gap between this leaf and that leaf right. So I'm just going to make a little marker. That's where I want there. So that's where I've made that marker there and there. It's about that wide. I'm just guessing. I could be wrong. But that's how I feel. Okay. So I'm going to be drawing this shape first. If you look, it's a square. I'm going to do a center line coming straight down, and it ends, I would say, I don't really have a reference point, but I can use this leaf. So there's the bottom of that leaf, and it's about there that it ends. So I just copy that, it's about there, about there. Okay. All right. Cool. Again, sort of tapers it into a triangle over here. Comes in. Again, constantly making corrections. Okay. And draw lots of lines. Again, I just want to remind you, I am going quite fast because you guys don't want to sit and watch me draw for 4 hours. That would be quite boring. But I'm moving quite fast. But remember, these red lines represent the thinnest, lightest lines. These are all construction lines. You want to be able to erase each one of these lines when you're done, so no one can see them, so that you can pretend that you just drew this in 5 minutes, or it just appeared as a finished artwork. And just advice to all the young men, this is a really good way to impress girls. For some reason they find this stuff appealing. I don't know why, but it really works well. Okay, cool. So now we can address the little, so Fred is sort of attempting to grow a little bit taller, but we all know that's probably a leaf piece. Okay, it's not real. You know, Fred still has time. He might be able to find love. So again, we see I've got a problem, okay? I said that this is the top, and I've been trying to use proportion, but it's not, okay? But what am I going to do? You know what? I don't really care. It's a drawing. It's not a photograph. I'm going to make him a bit taller. Okay. Let's not... I don't want to go off the page. I'm just going to make it, okay? And again, guess what? It's not a real page. There we go. So again, I'm thinking in terms of its basic shape. So if I could just break this up even more, there's a rectangle, there's a triangle shape on top, okay? But as you get better at drawing, your shapes become more complex, okay? So you go from doing basic shapes to be able to see more complex shapes in your drawing. So you could be drawing very complex shapes that you see, and that's just all a part of the mental training of art. So you can go from simple shapes to more complex shapes. Okay, you start seeing those more complex shapes, the better you get. So I'm drawing this little triangular shape over here, there, and again, there's like a little, another shape like that over there. And I'm just trying to really keep them as basic as I can. Okay. So the next things that I want to address are just the little rings in the pot plant. If I see, okay, there are a couple. There's the rim, there's one there, and another one a little bit lower. So I've got the rim here. I'm just going to express them in terms of lines. One line per rim, and another one a little bit lower. Okay, I'm just trying to keep that all parallel. Cool. Okay, so the next thing are these, just look how dramatic this is. This leaf falls down, hits the ground. He's just dragging it along, right, like a lame leg. We're going to do that. So I think this leaf would be the next one. And if you look, it goes beyond the pot. So I'm just going to make a mark there, and I'm going to draw a line as the center line like that, coming all the way down. So it starts about there, comes all the way down, okay, hits that about there. And I'm just going to draw the shapes over it. So I'm going to break it up into this shape, there's another shape here, shape like that. Okay. So segmented the leaf. So again, first shape, second shape, bigger. Third shape is actually much bigger than that. And then going into that. Just joining them all together. Cool. All right. And so I haven't addressed these guys yet, but I'm going to do these two leaves. So if you look at this leaf, it's a line straight down like that, where this shape meets. So I'm going to draw that, and also thinking about the direction, it's going almost south, okay, southwest. So from about here, again guys, don't get too perfectionist about this, okay. Never enter the drawing Olympics, guys, you'll lose. Don't start comparing yourselves to other people. Just be yourself. Okay, that line there comes up. So you'll see it almost steps. So it goes up and across. Straight up. Okay. And then we've got, look at that negative space over there. It's just a slither. Coming really close, the other negative space over here, it's like this shape, like a leaf. So I want to keep that in mind. There they come. And there we go. Okay, cool. All right. Oh, this is looking so complex. But this is thoroughly enjoyable, guys. Don't get me wrong. Okay, so I'm going to look at this shape now. Here. Okay, I want to make sure that's right. So I'm just going to try emulate it a bit. And that's going to help me draw this leaf. Okay. And this guy, you see this line over here, jumps from about there to about there. Okay. And guys, it is important to concentrate while you're doing this because as you can see, it's becoming quite a big mess of lines, but I know what's going on. Hopefully you guys know what's going on. Again, this is a big part of the mystery of drawing, is this is what's underneath everything. Cool. So I think I have drawn all the shapes. Other things I think we can talk about very briefly, and I don't want to get into it too much now, is if you look on the pot plant, okay? All right, so you've probably seen it, that there is like a highlight or a reflection over here. There's another reflection, another reflection. So it's very important to address that. But for now, the level that we're at, so I'm assuming that you guys just done basic shapes, we're just going to ignore that. Because what I want you guys to be able to achieve is something like this. So if I were to say you guys are going to go home and you're going to solely do drawings that look like this, again, maybe people think you're crazy, but you are building up your internal tools to be able to draw like a bomb, okay? So this is the point where I feel like you get to this point, just stop, walk away, draw something else that is just as complex as a pot plant. This is where I want you guys to stop. But for the sake of just to show you that this does work, I'm going to just do a basic outline around everything else so we can get an idea of where the drawing is going, and just so you can see it isn't for nothing. So I'm going to begin just to draw the outline. So again, this is the real work. This is everything. This is where everything is decided, all the choices are made. If you've done a good job from here, the rest is easy. The rest really is just about making the right choices, okay? It's about choosing where do I draw the hard line. But this is the most complex part of drawing. Really it is. And it's easy as line to shape, okay? And then the things, again, like I said, you have to take into account is measurement and proportion, okay? Those two things, line, shape, measurement, and proportion. We're not going to do tone today, and we're not going to try to create form. That's for another lesson. So let's get at these outlines. I'm going to use my black marker, just so you can see. All right, hopefully I can see. And start with this over here. Okay, so I'm really looking more closely at my drawing because I just want to be able to reflect this outline a bit better. So guys, don't go, and you can draw that. I'm not telling you what to do, but if you make a habit of getting to this point and then drawing a hard outline around your drawings, it's probably not a good thing to do because it's going to mess up the way you think about drawing, okay? Unless you want to draw like this, that's fine. I don't want to tell you what to do. All right. Again, I'm just really making sure that I've gotten it right. Even as I draw my outline, I'm making sure that I've gotten my basics right. actually I would say go ahead and do the outline. It might be good, but just realize you don't want to create a habit of doing a hard outline around basic construction lines, especially if your aim is to create mimetic or realistic drawings. If you think about it, there isn't a single outliner that exists in the real world. And if you are seeing outlines around people, I would suggest you go see a doctor. Okay. So there's so much about Fred that we haven't addressed, like the little segments in his stalk, the contour lines and the shading that follow his leaf. All of that will come. For now, guys, we're not worrying about that. We're still learning, okay? We're still getting there. Okay. Just looking at the edge of the pot plant, how I did my little rings, bit of a divot at the bottom of the bowl, coming straight up. Okay. Cool. So what I'm going to do is just take out some of the construction lines. Whoa. So you guys can see the proof is in the tasting or in the pudding. I actually don't know how this saying goes, but pudding would be really great right now. Okay. So I would say I'm quite happy with how that turned out. If I look at this, what we've achieved here is quite significant. Okay, so yes, you might be thinking it's not a resolved drawing. I'm not there yet, but it's a long journey that we're going from, and we're trying to like plug in all these important things that we're learning. So what I'm going to say to you watching is really, so you've drawn simple objects, you've looked at our first YouTube video, go back now and get your little sketchbook and find really complex objects that you can draw. So like a handbag, or if you have a sad pot plant, I can't think of anything else, but if you can think of more complex drawings like a ladder, a chair, not a television because that's square, but and even if you start pairing simple objects together, so a cup, a bowl, a vase, things like that, that involve multiple shapes, that involve multiple connections, that where you have to look at the proportion and measurement and just putting them together and drawing it to the point where it's line and shape and the relationships of the shape. You can do an outline if you want, but the whole point is to begin seeing more complex things, breaking them up into abstract shapes, and just starting thinking more complexity, thinking more about more intricate objects in terms of this. As you can see, I'm quite tired from doing this, but I'm feeling quite good. I'll catch you guys next week. Remember to like and subscribe. See you again soon. Cheers.